Are these the same? That's so weird. What's that background noise?
Everything. What can you hear? Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good night. How is everyone doing today? We are Steve and Nicole Andrews. Apologies for being here a minute late. The day just got away with us. The week got away with us. We are halfway through April and we are excited to be here. The weather is this and this is this, and at the stroke of this time, it will be this time.
You said it got away with us.
It
got away from us.
Probably. I'm not even going to blame that one on being an English person either. We have so many quirky things that it's like, is that an English thing that we say? There was something the other day I remember, and I was like, is that an English thing, or is that just a Steve's incapable of actually saying things thing? And often it's a case of Steve being incapable of saying things correctly.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly.
That part in my hair was going to drive me absolutely crazy because it made me look bald. So I had to fix that.
Wasn't it last week we were talking about me needing Rogaine?
Mm-hmm. It looks a lot worse on me needing Rogaine than it does on you. Just saying. First of all, you're blonde. Second of all, you're a man.
I'm a man.
So things are just different, and that is the truth.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. I'm going to open a can here. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Right? That's loud. Can you hear that? That's a wonderful thing about sound. It's hot water. It's not beer. It's similar to beer, but it doesn't have the alcohol in it. Nice and refreshing.
I was going to say, Steve is not drinking alcohol. It's hot water. We have not had alcohol in, it will be 6 years this August.
That's right.
Yeah.
6 years.
And has anybody else jumped on that bandwagon? I feel like it's a bandwagon. Alcohol is kind of taking a back seat to a lot of things. As people are awakening and waking up on the earth, they're realizing that at least, drinking a lot is not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
I, don't want to offend anyone who just drinks occasionally, but they have put studies out, all forever, but also recently that said no amount of alcohol is healthy for you. But I guess, for me, what I think about, you have to weigh, it's not just your physical health. Sometimes people need something. And, if you're not like drinking yourself into oblivion like I used to, then, you're probably okay.
It comes back to that operating system, right?
Everything's killing you. You can walk outside and you're getting pollution and toxins and all of that. So if you are taking care of yourself overall, having a glass of wine every now and then is probably not going to kill you. We're dying anyway.
I was going to say that. One of our speakers at our spiritual center this week said, this is a quote from Bob, my co-worker. It might not have been Bob, it might have been Jeff. I can't remember, but he said, don't take life so seriously. You're not going to survive it anyway. And it hit me right here. I was just like, yeah, this is true.
That was pretty good. Shout out to Brother Lucian for sure on that one. That was awesome.
I'm just going to drop the link in a few places here if anyone wants to join us live. But that was amazing. You know what? We could talk about. There's a few questions people are looking for finding leads. That's one of the things that someone says, and they're looking on Facebook mainly. Most of all sales come from Facebook, but we should talk about JLo and her alcohol brand afterwards.
Okay.
We should be controversial.
Well, it is really an interesting topic because I think that Oh gosh, this takes me in such a direction. We should talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, let's see if we can help Debbie, who's having trouble finding leads. It's one of those age-old ones that a lot of people talk about, that they are looking for leads, right? Leeds is a city in the north of England. It's just near Bradford, not far, just across the Pennines from Manchester. That's Leeds. We just started watching something. I think we may have watched it before about the Yorkshire Ripper, and that was all around Leeds. But that's a very different, dark place to go to. So let's not do that. But just dropping some links here if everyone wants to join us. And whether you're drinking hot water, a glass of wine, refreshing mojito, a beer, love for you to come join us. It's happy hour here. It's happy hour in the Andrews family. We are happy it is Friday.
Happy as a hippo.
Lubin.
Armpit. There you go. I have no inhibitions today.
Did you shave your armpits?
I did. I shave my
good.
armpits every day.
Oh, that's good.
I can't stand the little stubble. I start to itch. I have sensitive skin. Sensitive everything.
All righty. So yeah, let's talk about, finding leads.
What kind of leads are we talking about?
So Debbie is a Beachbody coach.
A what?
A beach. Sorry, they're not called that anymore, are they? She's a BODI partner, a body partner. I'm so out of date. God, the kids make me feel out of date, and even you make me feel out of date.
Sorry.
Such an old man.
I have to call Steve on his shit.
Yeah, it's true. So she's
Part of my job.
She said one of her
Our
biggest
life journeys
difficulties. One of her biggest difficulties is finding leads. And I said, where are you looking right now? And she said, Facebook mainly. Most of all my sales come from Facebook, not have much luck at Instagram, even though I've been posting and doing stories there for years. So there's a couple of different pieces we can unpack around that, right? Nicole's like, where are you going with this, Steve? So people who've been on Facebook for a long while, transitioning to other platforms. God, blurry. Yeah, that other camera would have been better. I don't care that they could see the mess about it. Get the green screen put up behind us here. If you're joining us live, we are Steve and Nicole Andrews, and we are very serious. We do not have any fun in our lives, and we don't laugh a lot. I promise you. These are old age lines and not laughter lines. So Debbie's having trouble transitioning from collecting leads on Facebook to collecting leads on Instagram. I wish it was less sensitive. Zoom, can you make a bigger depth on your depth of field? Because this is just ridiculous that I'm blurry in and out. And now you're following me. Okay. So Debbie is having trouble with her Facebook, moving from Facebook to other platforms and collecting leads. And honestly, I don't think this is uncommon. Facebook used to be the easiest place to build a business. Facebook promoted posts and group posts. So everybody was seeing all of these things all the time. They were always getting good response to those sorts of things until they weren't. Everything works until it doesn't work. And then it became more difficult. And it's easy to say that the market's dead, but there's a load of people who are still trying to get better bodies. There's people who are still having these problems. And so it's about being able to connect on different platforms. What are the common mistakes that people make on Instagram? Nicole. I think I feel like a lot of people think of social media as broadcast media almost. We talk about this a lot, where people just post and then I'm not getting results.
That's a loaded question when you're asking me what mistakes people are making on Instagram. Mm-hmm. My perception of Instagram for business, and some people have creator accounts as well. The more niched down you are, the more interaction, engagement, and sales you will get. And the reason this is because if you're page, if your account is all over the place talking about 25 to a million different things, unless it's a blog, unless you are documenting your life, and that's what you say you are, you're not going to get a whole lot of engagement. So what exactly is a niche? Your niche is your ideal clients, how are you solving their biggest problem? So this is how you narrow down what your niche is, right? And what happens is when you go to someone's Instagram account, and if you see all of this different stuff, it's nothing but confusing. And you never tell people exactly how it is that you help them. And it's funny, we were talking about this earlier. I think people, because of the world that we live in, we're very, is it selfish? Selfish is not the word necessarily that I'm looking for, but we look at social media as something that is for us, right? So what we're trying to do is get likes, comments, shares, saves. That's a very, that's about you, right? But if you completely flip that around and make your social media about your ideal clients and what it is that they need, and you are providing them so much value with what it is that they need, they know instantly why they're going to follow your account. They know instantly why they're going to want to make a connection with you. If they don't know that within the first 2 seconds of looking at your account, people are just going to scroll on by, right?
Yep. So I pulled up Debbie's account here. Hopefully you don't mind us saying this, Debbie. So we've pulled it up and we're going to do a social media hot seat like we used to. So, from the top here, we can see that, and I won't tell everybody what your account is. If you want to comment and let us know that we're okay to share that, we will, but we'll keep it private for you right now. I'm sure there's another Debbie or two in the world, so they wouldn't be able to track you down exactly. But Debbie here says hyperthyroid, PCOS, baseball mom, teacher, certified trainer, help autoimmune midlifers with sustainable lifestyle change, freebies, gut info, join me. Bio is pretty clear.
It is clear, yes, but there's a lot about you in there. And your bio should tell people right away what it is that you help them with. And I suppose maybe if I were in your world, so to speak, if I struggled with hypothyroidism, I would know what you mean by that sentence. But to me, it's still not clear exactly with sustainable lifestyle change. What does that mean? Like I want more, I want to understand, and what you help me with should, like, the person who's struggling, who needs your help, where your skills, your coaching, your advice, everything that you have to offer them is going to be the solution to their problem. That doesn't pull it, I don't know. Are they looking for sustainable lifestyle change? What does that mean? What do they struggle with? That should be upfront. I can't think of the freaking word that I'm trying to find when it comes to, when our bios shouldn't be about us. We should be telling the people, our ideal client, why are we doing this? Why do you want to come here? What's in it for me? What's in it for me if I look at your account? What's in it for me if I follow your account?
Customer focused, I guess, but
yeah,
that's probably a better way of saying it.
It's customer focused, and we want to talk about ourselves, and where we can talk about ourselves is in our stories. And it can be woven through our posts, because obviously our personal experience is going to be what helps us help other people, right? But it can't all be about you. Turn it around and think that you are speaking to, and this is the value in finding an avatar, right? I think that this isn't necessarily spoken about a whole lot, but if you create your avatar, and maybe it's a real person that you've actually helped, you know, and that can be your person, because there are so many people out there like that who are struggling with the same thing. And you define this person and everything that you've helped them with. And you can use that person, number one, to keep you passionate about it, because you're going to keep them cradled and hugged and nice and snuggly in your hands and in your arms, because you've helped them and you want to continue to help them. What tools are you giving them? What advice are you giving them? What resources are you giving them? What coaching are you giving them? Think about that and begin to create your content, right? And then another really great thing that I was reminded of is not to gatekeep your knowledge. And what I mean by that is, you know, don't hold back on giving information. You think that, you know, people shouldn't have access to that unless they actually become a client, but showcase the knowledge that you have and what you have to offer them, because people are going to be like, wow, this person, you know, what they pay for is access to you, right? So more access to you within your community. So don't gatekeep all of your knowledge. Don't hold back on what you know and what you can offer them on social media, because you can become a hub of information and resources for them on social media. And it increases the likelihood that they'll, you know, come into your community.
It kind of feels a little bit like you're not 100% sure on your niche. I think you definitely are there for hypothyroid and PCOS, but it's like, can I get enough business in that space, or do I need to be a baseball mom and a teacher and a certified trainer as well? You know, that's like saying, well, we help firefighters, but we also help plumbers and lawyers and veterinarians.
I understand this logic because, you know, like attracts like. So if you say that you're a teacher, maybe you'll attract teachers, right? But then to say you help autoimmune midlifers with sustainable lifestyle change, that opens it back up, right? So do you want to help teacher moms with autoimmune disorders in midlife have a, you know, sustainable lifestyle change? Again, I think that that could be dwindled down a little bit more. What does that mean? Like, what is the actual problem? Why do they need sustainable lifestyle change? Like, you know, what's the problem you're solving? That's what I want to know. And then, you know, moving on to your feed, just being completely 100% honest, you know, there's a lot there, and it looks a lot about you, you know, the content that people are going and following and watching on a regular basis is about them and how it helps them. They need it, they want it every day, right? The stuff that I see initially here on your Instagram, you could be sharing this stuff in your stories, because your stories is like, you know, the play-by-play of your life, the fun highlights of your life. See, this must be your dog. Share that in your stories, you know, because that's about you personally. But your feed should be all about your follower, your ideal client. Give them that value. And it's a shift. Trust me, I totally get it. Like it is a shift, because I think what happens with a lot of people is, you know, we're trying to showcase ourselves, but that's not really what we want to do here. We can do that in our stories. That's fine. And yes, you can spread your story throughout, because you have to pull at people's heartstrings to help them understand how you're going to help. But your content should really be, you know, all of those little nuggets that you can be helping people with, you know.
I'm absolutely with you on that. It's not clear what your account is. You know, there is the dog, there's the Isaiah quote, there's baseball, there's a food thing, formula for mental health.
And I hope you know that all of this is with love. Like there is no judgment here whatsoever. I hope that you take this information and run with it because, you know, I know you have something to offer your people out there. You just have to find your people. And the way to find your people is making it crystal clear. People should know exactly why they're there looking at your, you know, like within the first 3 posts. Okay. So,
So what would you want to see that's targeting, you know, let's say we're drilling down on autoimmune midlifers.
I know autoimmune disorders have a lot to do with nutrition, with what you're consuming, right? So recipes would be amazing. What are the self-care practices or the everyday life practices that somebody with an autoimmune disorder might need in their life? You know, there are so many directions that could go. It depends on Debbie, what specifically you have to offer in this niche, you know, what is the problem, and then what are you solving? How are you solving that problem, right? So, you know, somebody who I haven't been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, but I definitely struggle with autoimmune issues. You know, I think about nutrition, sleep, hydration, making sure that you're not consuming, you know, processed things, meditation, you know, kind of what tools in someone's toolbox can they use on a daily basis to help with their autoimmune disorders, right?
How someone might even realize that they have autoimmune disorder, maybe they're undiagnosed.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you know? And,
Right.
you know, you want to be doing a combination of still photos. You want to be doing carousels. You want to be doing reels, and you want to be going live on a regular basis. And you should have a rotation of these different kinds of posts. Carousel posts are really good for, you know, you could say 5 tips for reducing body aches as someone with an autoimmune disorder. You know, what autoimmune disorder are you specifically targeting? Did I see, what does Debbie have? Because it's in her bio.
Hypothyroid.
Okay, so
And PCOS.
And PCOS. So that's your lived experience, right? So how are you overcoming this? How have you overcome this? So maybe rather than saying you're helping autoimmune midlifers, you say you're helping women with hypothyroidism and PCOS with XYZ, you know? What was the question you asked me?
What content would you want to see?
That wasn't something after that. I feel like there was something after that.
Possibly.
Oh, I know. I remember I was talking about carousels. So niche it down, really be specific, because and remove the expectation of the likes and the views, because they will come once you begin to narrow that down, because you're speaking to your people and you will actually bring the people that need you to your content, right? Like, think about yourself when you go on social media. What are the accounts that you're actually following and listening to? I feel like that's rare for me these days, that I have somebody that, you know, I have to watch their content every day because they're giving me actual valuable, useful information. So really dig into that, you know? What you doing?
I'm gonna see if I can share from my phone here. It's just an account that I really love. No, I'm not doing it via cable, so let's try a different way. There we go. Just a second, it's going to make me download the plugin, and then hopefully I can just do this here. That's the one. Might not work because the plugin is not necessarily up to date, in which case it's something we can do another day. I wanted to see, oh, there we go. You guys can see my phone now. Better make sure I behave myself. Okay, so I love Jamie Brindle. He talks about the business of freelance, and he has a really successful business because of it. he's using predominantly reels, which all have a cover on them. So when you come to this account, it's really clear that what it is, how this helps. So finding work in 2023, business in a box. Everybody has a plan. Don't sell. The client has some notes, and so you can see there's good reels at the top there. But there's also use of carousels, as Nicole's saying here. He's using this Hotseat to promote his program, I believe. Yep, and there's a common program for that here. There's use of images still, and then another carousel. He does a great job of reels in general. He does this whole new freelancer, and you guys won't be able to hear it, but he does a new freelancer versus a pro. And this great two personality piece works really well for him. And maybe there's some things, Debbie, that a person who has PCOS knows about themselves that others don't know about them. Maybe there's something you can do to show understanding. What I love about Jamie Brindle is that, when we first started and we were more in a freelancer mode, we would make all the mistakes that he's talking about, the new freelancer talking about. Maybe there was some mistakes you made as an early person with PCOS, hypothyroidism. Did you just think, oh, I can't eat flour, I can't eat bread, there's nothing I can do? Or did you immediately go and look for almond flour or other things? I don't know exactly what you can and can't eat. I'm not in that space.
What I sit here and think about is, for example, we went out to eat last night, which was a bad mistake because I can probably guarantee that they cooked everything in canola oil. And guess what? There's this pain right here that radiates right here and moves all the way into my arm. So me and canola oil or whatever kind of processed something or other that it was, that didn't work. So you could joke around and say, you could get up and walk funny or creak around and say, when I made the choice to go out to eat, or when I made the choice to eat that processed piece of food from Whole Foods. Yes, Whole Foods cooks with canola oil. Whole Foods sells things with canola oil in it. So you could make it funny, when you didn't know the ingredients to something and you chose to eat it anyway.
Yeah, we love the book Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. Talks a lot about positioning your client as the hero, so you do want things that help that hero, and then positioning you as the authority, the credibility.
That's where your stories come in. That's where your experience comes in. So if you have a photo of yourself and then you in your caption talk about your story and what are the things that you've overcome, what have you struggled with that are going to pull at people's heartstrings.
Well, and it's a classic way to build relationships, to have shared experiences. I always talk about Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid. Can I get in focus somehow? I always talk about Mr. Miyagi and the Karate Kid because that's one of my favorite movies. But another one of my favorite movies is Point Break, right, with Keanu Reeves, and he goes as an undercover detective and wants to befriend. Do you remember what her name is? The girl that he befriends?
No, I don't.
Tori, Tony.
I can look it up.
Something like that. She's the surfer who teaches him how to surf. And he looks her up before as a police officer and sees that both of her parents died. And he lied and said both of his parents died. But there was an understanding between each other that advanced that relationship because Tyler. There was an understanding between them that advanced that relationship because they both had a shared experience of having lost parents. And it's something that no one else could understand. There can be unique experiences that can bond people, and the ability to show that you understand how someone thinks can accelerate a relationship quickly. And building trust and building relationships is what any form of sales is about. Yeah.
Man, so many thoughts on this topic.
Well, that's good. This is a good topic to talk about. I see Steph stuck in here, Stephanie McFarlane. If she has a question, she can drop it in the chat. But if not, we're just happy to have you here hanging with us.
Yeah.
Feel our energy, feel our love as it's starting to warm up in California finally. Or maybe not. We kind of had a false start, but we did get up to nearly 80 the other day, which was pleasant. So, and it's sunny. So that's always a bonus. But it is an interesting topic, and finding shared experiences is a great way of building a relationship. Honestly, if you come on a sales call with me, I'll usually talk to you about where you are, and okay, I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, I just happen to have been to Tulsa, Oklahoma, so I can have a quick conversation about that. It's a weird place to have been, but I have. For someone who's in California, that's all. I'm sure if you live in Oklahoma City, going to Tulsa isn't that big of a deal. But for someone in California or from England, and to have been to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I've also been to Charlotte, North Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia, and San Antonio in Texas, and various random places. But you can build a relationship around that. Oh, you have dogs, you have a pit bull. Oh, we have a pit bull. You have daughters. Yes, I have daughters. There's ways to build those relationships with people. So you join us when you're ready, Steph. Not a problem. So think about that. If you can share experience with people, it can build a relationship. If you can show that you understand them, you can build a relationship. Let's face it, we're with our partners, our husbands, our wives, because they understand us, or they did understand us when we met. And that's a key piece that we need as humans. We need to feel heard and understood. And that's how love is built.
Yeah. Another thing is probably what most people know this, but you can pin posts to the top of your Instagram as well as your Facebook. So people know why they're there. If you have a few posts that directly relate and give good advice about whatever it is, whatever problem you're solving, pin those babies to the top, because people will know better why they're following you, or why they should follow you, why they should consume your content.
Right. You talk about being ADHD, right?
Yeah, it's not a main topic.
So there's an amazing account called ADHD_love, and it's a British couple, and they're both heavily tattooed. And but she's ADHD, and she talks about these things that are related to ADHD, and he's like neurotypical, I guess we call him. When you hear her talk about the ADHD things, I'm like, that's like you.
To a T.
And it shows that they know what it's like, and it's educational to a certain extent for us as partners who are like, God, Nicole, I asked you to do something that should take 5 minutes. How did it take you an hour to do that? We understand those things. I'm not saying that's an actual example. I'm going to get kicked in a minute. I
don't care.
But
I am who I am. You can choose to stick with me or not.
Well, it's sometimes it's a question of, is it a personal trait, or is it something to do with right. ADHD? And sometimes you don't know, right? I think Nicole turned up like 2 hours late to our first date. So and then there was another time you got lost. Was it on the way or on the way back?
On the way back. You guys don't even know. I think externally, it's easy to think that somebody has it all together, and maybe you guys don't think I have it all together, but some people might think that I have it together, but some of the things that I deal I used to get lost because directions completely overwhelmed me, and yeah, they still do.
So Steph's saying me or my ADHD. Is it me or my ADHD?
Right.
And sometimes you don't even know, right? Even if you have ADHD, there's not too much information out there about it. And so this account is really great for that, though, and for helping us understand. And you see them getting brand partnerships and things like that because they've got a great following, and there's someone who's like, yes, I understand this better now. I understand this better. Another
thing that I said last week that I think is really valid, maybe it wasn't last week, maybe it might have even been like the first one that we did up here. But you are going to be repeating yourself a lot. You have to think of yourself as like a band, and a band has to go on tour in order to make money, right? And what's the band doing? They're singing the same songs over and over and over and over and over again. And that's what you're going to feel like, because you're going to be talking about the same things over and over and over again. And you, as a human, you're like, well, God, I got to keep this fresh. I got to keep this interesting. No, you got to help your person, because they're struggling with the same shit every single day, right? So you got to help them with the same shit every single day. And that can feel redundant and all of these things, but that's why, you have a variety of different types of content. You can angle the question a different way, or angle the solution a different way, or, it's okay. You're going to be like that band who's singing the same songs on your album over and over.
Right, and you can twist it slightly, right? Sometimes they'll do a different version. Our dog is screaming down here. She's like, you can do variations on it. If you hear the live version of "We Are the Champions," it's a little bit different to the album version. You can come out, you can do it slightly different way. You can have the audience sing in a different way. The acoustic version, that's right, Steph. There's the different versions of it. You might have the version that you bring out the gospel choir for and get them to sing, "You have ADHD." But there's lots of different ways you can present the same information a different way. Maybe it's in a reel one time, maybe it's in a carousel. I was like, what do you call those things? Maybe it's a post, maybe you do a live about it, maybe you do something funny about it, maybe you do something serious about it. You can still have the same message and say it many different ways. How many different love songs are there out there, and how many different ways are there to say I love you, or I had a breakup, or I had a good relationship? You think you've got everything from lots of different love songs, the soul versions, the Motown, the metal versions, the metal bands doing the other covers. Lots of different ways of doing it, and that's what you have to do to a certain extent to put that information out there. And it's going to connect with your audience in different ways as well. Someone might be more of a visual learner, someone might prefer to watch a live, someone might like funny to make it connect for them. So definitely an opportunity there to inform people. And you can inform and entertain at the same time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's see if any more messages have come in, any more questions have come in. And then if not, we can go to J-Lo, right?
Yeah. We are the champions, my friend, and we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions. Nobody like that, man.
So, J-Lo with her brand of cocktails.
You've done much more. Steve, I think, spends a lot more time like reading news and headlines and stuff than I do. Steve told me, it's like, did you hear J-Lo came out with her own cocktail brand? And I don't even think that it dawned on me like what his point was until a few minutes later. Obviously, Ben Affleck, her husband, is sober, right?
Yep.
So that's kind of weird. And then also, she kind of made it a thing that she doesn't drink because she doesn't want to age. Like it ages her if she drinks, right? So I don't know what's
the question here is J-Lo actually drinking this stuff, or is she endorsing creating a brand for the money perspective? And what I saw on Instagram was huge separation of her followers. Some saying this is disingenuous, and others saying, well, other people are making money doing these sorts of things, why shouldn't she? The same question, I guess, goes for The Rock. Like, he has his tequila brand. How much tequila do you think The Rock drinks?
You see him drinking a lot. Can you imagine how much tequila it takes to do anything to him? Like, his body mass index is like He can have one tequila drink on ice, and I mean, it probably won't do a whole lot. Hopefully he likes how it tastes. I don't know. You see how my brain works. There's no point in drinking unless it's intoxicating.
Of course, Dwayne, if you're watching this, we'd love to have a conversation with you over a tequila and drink some tequila. We can see quite how much tequila you can drink. We have a client who has said that they would love you on their podcast. So just if you happen to hear this, just let us know. I think what we're seeing though is we're seeing celebrities endorsing products. People who've already had amazing success in Hollywood, in music, are getting into other businesses and making money. And one of the other comments were, instead of JLo coming out with this brand of cocktails, why not leave it for other people to have that business opportunity? The small batch brewers, the mum and dad who are trying to make extra money, rather than, Ryan Reynolds supposedly made $1 billion or sold Mint Mobile for $1 billion, based on his endorsement. He sold Aviator Gin. These sorts of things are important, or not important, but they're certainly good questions to talk around, because celebrities are already incredibly wealthy, providing they've handled their money appropriately, of course. And then the flip side of that is, well, should they still be going into these other ventures, or is it smart for them to go in these other ventures as their careers fade? And we'd love to know your thoughts about that. There's definitely two sides to the coin there.
Well, interesting to me what this brings up for me, because I know, like, on my sobriety journey, I think there was a piece of me that wanted to have a reaction to alcohol. Like, when anybody who drank alcohol, like, maybe I was mad at alcohol, and maybe I was mad at the alcohol industry. And so I really took a stance, and I sat there and advocated and got angry and would tell people, oh, you're being fooled by the alcohol industry. And I was very passionate about it, and I probably sat in judgment of people who drink. Thankfully, early on, that really dropped. Like, I was able to have more of a neutral stance on it, and lose my judgment. And it's funny because I've been waiting for an opportunity to share this story that I have. It's in A New Earth. You guys always hear me talking about Eckhart Tolle, and everything. I don't know, maybe it's not fun to live like this because our egos don't like it. Our egos don't like having no reaction. Our egos like to react to things. Our egos like to be right or wrong in certain instances, and it kind of speaks to, everybody has an opinion, so you got to live your life the way that you want to live your life. And I think that JLo's kind of like the definition of that. She really has given zero fucks over the years and has lived exactly how she wants to live. There are so many things that and even this, when I'm about to let it come out of my mouth, the difference between reactions to a man and a woman, men do these things all the time. Is there a big fuss about it?
Right. No one made a fuss about Bart or about,
Right.
Ryan Reynolds and
the amount of people that she's been in relationships with or gotten married to, etc. I mean, the same is true of men.
Well, let's face it, Leonardo DiCaprio does get a bit of stick for dating women who are 24 and 364 days or younger.
That's true. He does.
But maybe he's an extreme case because, let's face it, he's 20 years older than most of those women now. He's just a
little baby Jack Nicholson.
Yeah,
Jack Nicholson was in a relationship with the love of his life, and that relationship ended, and then his heart hurt, and I don't think he could ever do it again. So, and he speaks of that person like, they are still the love of his life, but he never settled down again. So, and maybe that happened to Leo. Maybe he loved somebody and he couldn't have them. And he was like, well, that's a lost cause. So I'm just going to do what I want to do.
All I wanna
That's my
do
theory.
is have some fun.
I think Leo is incredibly talented. And I think Jack Nicholson is incredibly talented. And I think that, I think that people should live the way that they want to live. And, it's not my judgment to make. And on that note, I want to read you this story. It's really funny because I was looking up I was trying to look up the story, but then I remembered it's in A New Earth, and this is where I heard it, and I love it so much. So, the deeper interconnectedness of all things and events implies that the mental labels of good or bad are ultimately illusory. They always imply a limited perspective and so are true only relatively and temporarily. This is illustrated in the story of a wise man who won an expensive car in a lottery. His family and friends were very happy for him and came to celebrate. "Isn't it great?" they said. "You're so lucky." The man smiled and said, "Maybe." For a few weeks, he enjoyed driving the car. Then one day, a drunken driver crashed into his new car at an intersection, and he ended up in the hospital with multiple injuries. His family and friends came to see him and said, "That was really unfortunate." Again, the man smiled and said, "Maybe." While he was still in the hospital one night, there was a landslide and his house fell into the sea. Again, his friends came the next day and said, "Weren't you lucky to have been in the hospital?" Again, he said, "Maybe." The wise man's maybe signifies a refusal to judge anything that happens. Instead of judging what is, he accepts it and so enters into conscious alignment with the higher order. He knows that often it's impossible for the mind to understand what place or purpose a seemingly random event has in the tapestry of the whole. But there are no random events, nor are there events or things that exist by and for themselves in isolation. The atoms that make up your body were once forced inside stars, and the causes of even the smallest event are virtually infinite and connected with the whole in incomprehensible ways. If you wanted to trace back to the cause of any event, you would have to go back all the way to the beginning of creation. The cosmos is not chaotic. The very word cosmos means order. But this is not an order the human mind can ever comprehend, although it can sometimes glimpse it. So, I don't know.
Break that down for us.
What?
The story. What's the takeaway from this? Or what's your takeaway from it?
My takeaway from it is there's no point in getting worked up about anything. And it's all about inner peace and accepting what is. And what this does is allow you to think clearly and live in the present moment, because to kind of like what I was saying to you earlier, everything is happening for you. And so when something might look crazy or something might be really chaotic in our lives, it's happening for a reason, and it's helping everything align properly for your greatest good and evolution. And yeah, and I just kind of I think about this when it comes to dare I even say his name, he who shall not be named got indicted, right? And everybody's all, you had one side that was all excited and happy and yes, this is the day and oh my goodness. And then you have another side that's like up in arms, like, no, he was arrested, he was indicted, and everybody's mad. But I decided, okay, cool. That was my reaction, because there's something greater than myself, something better than myself at play here. And I know that no matter what's happening, it's all for our greatest evolution and good. And so it's
we're
that.
missing your dad here this week.
I know.
We need him here for his acronym, right?
What is it?
Q-tip.
Q-tip. What does that stand for again?
Quit taking it personally.
Yeah. Like, accepting what is so vital to, I don't know. Here's how I see the world. each one of us is like a little molecule. We're this little micro thing in the macrocosm. And each one of us are these little microorganisms in this macro thing, right? And how we're vibrating doesn't just affect ourselves, it affects everyone around us. And so if we have the ability to create that inner peace and equanimity for ourselves, then we are helping change the earth, right? So if J-Lo wants to bring out an alcohol, if she wants to sell cocktails, more power to you, sister. I'm just gonna be over here doing my thing, living my life, you know.
Right, I think this might be a great time to close things up. We have a fire inspection going on today. The fire inspector is here to look, and he's actually come early, but I'll go and help him if you want to close things up.
Yeah, I'll just close things off for you guys. You know, again, Steve and Nicole Andrews, we're here for the business hot seat. We will be back with you guys next week, Friday at 2 p.m. Think of your questions in the meantime, any topics you'd like to hear about. We appreciate everybody who watches this live and then maybe takes the time to watch it a little bit later. So thank you guys. Take care.